to Dana Digital Tutorials. Today I'm going to walk you through some simpler methods to remove the background. This is mostly going to be an all or nothing, but there will be a few tools that you can use to bring back some of the areas or get rid of some additional areas. So let's get started. We're going to start in Photoshop, and we're going to work with the same cows that we worked with in the complex so that you can just see the differences and you can compare the different results. So with this cow, I can go into my wand tool, which is W, and I can go up to select image, or select subject, sorry. And if I come up here and I notice it's not picking all of these areas. So I could go with this and then I could just erase the extra little bits that it missed. But I think before I do that, I'm going to deselect and I'm going to click this little drop down and I'm going to click cloud, and then I'm going to do it. And it's using their online technology versus what's coming in Photoshop. I don't really know the difference. I just know that it did a better job. I can see here that it did not select this white area and it only selected the subject. So now that I have my selection, I have a couple of choices. I can mask it, which is what Photopea does automatically, by clicking the mask, and it will hide everything else. Why would I mask instead of just getting rid of the background? Well, if I wanted to add some areas or subtract some areas, by adding a mask, I haven't actually deleted it, I've just hidden it. You can see here in my little mask, the black areas are hidden and the white areas are shown. So if I go into my brush tool, which is B, but it's over here, then I can paint. And if I'm painting with white, it's going to show again. So I could come down here and I could paint this in. I could also use the magic wand to select that area. But if I'm painting with black, you'll see here that it's hiding. So that would allow me to make some adjustments, and then once I'm done, I can right click on this mask and I can click apply layer, and now it's as if I had deleted the background. So let's undo that and let's go back over to our cow for a minute. If I'm selected in this layer, the picture here, then anything I do, so if I try to brush, you're going to see it's painting white. That's because I'm painting on the picture and not on the mask. But if I'm selected on the cow and I use my magic wand tool, you can see here now I've selected that shadow area and most of it. I can see some areas up close if I'm zoomed in here, that it's not gone all the way up. So maybe I want to move this to 30 and select again, and I can see it's doing a better job. But then I can click on my mask and I can brush. But remember, we want white, not black, so X will swap those. And I can just paint my little shadow right back in if I wanted to keep that. And I can see it didn't do perfect here. So after I deselect, I'm just going to come back in and finish it. And once you get that right, you're ready to go. You can right click again, apply your mask. It is a flattened, not all the way, but just single layer PNG, because if I flatten all the way, it's going to create a white background. So if I were to go to layer, flatten, it then locks the layer. Remember, on a locked background layer, you cannot have empty pixels. So it put something there. It put white there. So we don't want to do that. We want to just leave it as a single layer and save it as a PNG, and it's ready to go. So I have this cow, which shouldn't be too difficult, but in a lot of your simple tools, whether you're using Photoshop or any other tool online or on your computer, it's going to most often take these little mottled gray areas and consider them part of the background. So if you're not wanting to get more advanced, then you're going to have to be okay with those gray mottled areas going away when you're removing a background. If you want to keep those gray mottled areas, I suggest you watch my video on complex background removal, and it will show you how to do that. But in this case, we're going to just focus on simple. So I'm getting back into my magic wand, W, and I'm going to go to the cloud because I know that's what I want, and then I'm going to hit select subject. And it is difficult to see here, but if I apply the mask, you'll be able to see what it selected. And it didn't even fully select my cow's outline very well, and it brought in some of this white area, which I would have to work a little bit more on by using other tools if I want these flowers. There is a tool under Magic Wand you could play with called Object Selection. And if you see and you hover over, it kind of recognizes different objects. If it doesn't recognize the object you want, you can often drag a box around the areas you want, and it will select those, but it doesn't always. If you're going to use this tool to kind of fine tune and hone in on your different areas, make sure you have Add to Selection. And once you're done and you just keep going, I'm not going to do all of it, and you get it where you want, you can then mask it. If I didn't want to mask and I just wanted to go straight to delete because it did a really good job, and I tried to delete here, you're going to see the content aware box come up because it cannot have a blank background. I mean, a blank area, empty area. So if I want to delete, I will need to instead unlock, hit delete, but as you can see, it deleted the image of my cow instead of my background. So what I'm going to do is undo that. I'm going to go to Selection, Inverse, and then I can hit delete, and it's going to delete the background. But remember, I would not be able to come back in and add this area if I do that instead of using a mask. So what about our colored cow? And I love him because he's so similar to the background that it really pushes the limits and the test on some of these background tools. So we're going to start with our magic wand and our select subject. We're going to go to the cloud detailed, and we're going to select it, and we're just going to mask it. And you can see here that it's not done great. It missed his whole little hip area in the back right here. And if I want that pink box to go away, then I'm going to need to just come over here and go to the magic wand to get out of there. But I would have to come in and I would have to paint all of that area back. If I want the flowers, I'm going to have to paint that area back. So it's a lot of work. So let's pop online and let's look at some of the online tools. So when I search for background remover, I found some tools, but before we get to those, let's start with Photo-P. Photo-P is a free tool that you can use to edit. It has a lot of similarities to Photoshop. You don't even need an account. The downside is that you can't save your project mid-project. It does auto-save, so if your system crashes or your browser crashes, when you reopen, it should go look for that autosave. But if you close this browser by choice, there is no autosave and you've lost your edits. Outside of that, it does a really good job. So if I select on my layer, make sure it's selected, and I go to Select, Remove Background, and then give it a minute, it's going to remove the background, but it's going to do so by adding the mask like I taught you in Photoshop. So I would be able to come in here and I would be able to use my black brush to hide more, or I would be able to use my white brush to show more. But I still just don't love the job. I mean, at least it got its hip, but it's missing all the flowers. So let's keep going. I found this Adobe program. I do believe it is not free. Oh, it says free to use, looky there, and no credit card required. But it doesn't really matter because it didn't do any better than Photo-P or Photoshop. So I'm going to just keep going. I found this other tool called Remove.bg, and uploaded my image, it automatically did this. I did not have to do any work. In order to download it, I did have to create an account. So I did. This came up as I searched for free background remover, but it is not actually free. I can download 500 by 500 pixels for free, but I cannot download the 1024 by 1024 because when I click on the download, it says download HD high definition, which they're considering 1024 by 1024 high definition. That is not high definition, but that is their definition. And you'll see that when I opened this account, it gave me a single credit, so I could do this one time and then I'm done unless I want to pay for it. So if I come over here, this is their subscription plan. I could either pay monthly or I could pay as you go. And at this price, I could just hire one of the editors online that I can find that will completely remove the background permanently. So this is not something that I would want to do. So if you have a Kittl membership, you can remove backgrounds in Kittl. It doesn't always do a great job. Unfortunately, there is no mask where you can paint back. There is an eraser tool where you can take away more, but you can't bring back. Let me show you what I mean. To begin with, I will say that I started by making my artboard a lime green color. So if I move my cow, you will see that. When I download as a transparent, that artboard color does not come with my image. It will be transparent, but it allows me to see what I'm doing. So if I click AI background remover, and I can look and see that it has done perfectly on this image. And this image is ready to download. I do not need to change my artboard color. If I come down to this cow and I hit AI background remover, and I see what it does take a minute. There it goes. I can see it's done mostly okay. I probably want to delete this area, but it didn't bring through the stem, and it didn't bring through part of this flower, and it didn't bring through part of this flower. And like I said, unfortunately, there's not really a way, like when you're using a mask, to bring back those areas. There is a way to erase. I can use this eraser tool, and I could say just be okay with this flower going away, but this flower would be more difficult. I'd have to just get rid of all of it, and I don't really want to do that because then it doesn't feel balanced. So if you have Canva, how do they compare? So let's look. So I would click on my image, and again, I've made my background a bright color. I have not tested the download. I do not know if that bright color will go download with the image, but I will test it and put it down into the comments. I'm going to click background remover, and I can see here that it's done a really good job. It's gotten rid of all of those edges. This cow's pretty easy for them to find. If I go and I zoom out and I do the background remover on this, I did not select my new image. I only rescaled. So let me go back in and let's scroll down. I actually have to click this area, and then I have to remove the background, and there it is, background remover. And I can see this has done a much better job. It has kept these flower areas. I personally am okay with some of these areas around there. I feel like it gives a little substance to my printers if they're printing on something that is going to be able to pull up. And I'm okay with that. I might would want to put back in the background right here, and I might would want to delete this area. So if I click background remover a second time, it actually brings me into an erase and restore. So I could use my erase and maybe just get rid of this area because I don't feel like it adds a whole lot. And then I could use my restore right here and maybe make my brush a little bit smaller. And I could come in and just paint this so that it has a nice solid area when they are printing. And then when I'm done, I will just hit done. Let me move this out of the area, hit X out of this. and then I would download this. Check the comments to see whether the artboard color background will transfer. So let's do one more image. And that is this one. I have to make sure I'm clicked on it, and then I hit background remover, and I can see this has done almost a perfect job, way better than all the others. I would still have to go in to hit the background remover again and use my eraser tool around these little white areas and use my restore tool. I saw something that it deleted. I think it was this little flower petal and maybe some other areas. I would just check it and make it perfect, and then I would download it. I hope that these tools help you with a little bit of an easier route. If you want a complex route, go visit my YouTube channel for my complex tutorial. But that is all. This is Dana with Dana Digital Tutorials.